I am Tony Montgomery.
Perfect. All right. Just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you grew up, where you're from.
Yeah, so I grew up in Fort Pierce, Florida, which is kind of on like the central east side of Florida, and born and raised there. Played a little bit of football most of my life, and then from there I decided to join the military and served 4 years in the Marines, where I moved up to North Carolina and was stationed there and did one tour in Fallujah as well. Then after that, I got really into the exercise science and things along those lines to try to become a better Marine, better fighter. And that got me involved with pursuing like exercise science outside of that. So when I got out of the military, I went to Florida Atlantic University down in Boca Raton, Florida, and studied there for, did my exercise science degree there. And then from there, I decided to open up a gym and build that out in Port St. Lucie, Florida, and did that for 4 years, sold that, and then traveled around, moving from state to state. Lived in Colorado for about 4 years, lived in California about 4, in Oregon, and now I'm back in Tampa, Florida, pursuing my master's in exercise science. So when I was playing football, right around my sophomore year, I was trying to be a better athlete when it came to that, and I've read Bill Romanowski's book. I can't think of the title. I think it's like Dragons, Demons, and the Things We Slay or something along those lines. And he talked a lot about his like strength training and his regimen that he used and all the like bells and whistles that he did to become the best. So I was like really enamored by that whenever I read that. And I just tried to absorb as much as I could training wise after that, thinking like that's going to make me a better athlete. That was the missing ingredient. Not that I was a 5'9" slow white kid playing football. It was like I needed better training to make me a better athlete. And then once I joined the military, I was stationed with 2nd Marine Recon Division, which is their Special Forces unit. And just seeing all those guys in action performing, I was like, how can I be a better Marine? How can I achieve those things? How can I be better at fitness? And really looked into that. And then when I was in Iraq, we would do some missions, go out for 5 or 7 days, and then come back in. We'd have all this free time, and I just started researching as much as I could, and that's where I found like Joe DeFranco, Elitefts, and all those things. It was all about the culmination of like trying to be better than what I was. That really got me into it, understanding the dynamics of like nutrition and training can make you a better person at whatever it is you're doing physically, so that was the route that really drove me there. Is I wanted to perform better in sports, and then I also wanted to perform better because it could save my life in the military. I did strongman first, but then I did found powerlifting, and started competing in that. And that's when I lived in Colorado. I started doing that, and I wanted to become the best in that endeavor. It's just kind of like a common theme, is like trying to overachieve and make sure that I turn over every rock that I can. So I moved to California, started training with Dan Green and powerlifting with him, and that's when I totaled right around like 1,700, and continued to pursue that. And once I started training in Oregon with Chris Duffin and my training partner that I've had for 4 years, Sean Doyle, I started to really improve my lifts and ended up totaling 1937 at one of my first meet in wraps, and then totaled 2001 at the Kern, one of the Kerns. I've done 3. One of them turned out to be successful, the other 2 not so much. And then I did 2006 at Record Breakers, and that was really my last like full competitive meet that I put a ton of effort into, and that was at 242 weight class. With the Marine Corps, being in that division, being in that unit, a lot of it was holding yourself accountable, right? Because they had standards that you had to live up to. So a lot of it was self-induced, trying to make sure that you lived up to the standards of everyone else. That way, whenever you had to rely on that person, you knew that they were there, they were doing their thing. So it consisted of like a lot of the calisthenics. We had to run 3 miles in under a certain amount of time. And then we had to do the push-ups and pull-ups. So it was a lot of body weight, a lot of calisthenic stuff. And then we did a lot of swimming as well. So those were kind of the dynamics of things that I had to get better at, because I was always kind of bigger and stronger. So I really wasn't too concerned with that at the moment. So it was mostly shifting towards trying to improve aerobic capacity, anaerobic capacity, and things of that nature. So we did a lot more medleys, did a lot more conditioning type stuff, along with like basic strength training. And that was like when I initially got into it, into the military. Then as I progressed and started researching and doing some other stuff and really getting to know a lot of the team guys as well, I got to train with them a lot and mostly did just like strength training then, because a lot of the guys had ambitions of getting out and maybe trying out for like sports afterwards. So I was able to do some of their strength and conditioning, and that's when I started getting into more of like the physical preparedness for athletes and trying to train more like an athlete instead of like an aerobic person, because I already had the aerobic capacity. So then it was just kind of like blending all that together, the aerobic capacity with like athletic preparedness, so that you're able to be a good operator when you're overseas.
You said you were training that program?
Not all of it, just my friends. Yeah, my friends would let me do it. The group that I was with, I was able to do a lot of the PT. A lot of the PT too started evolving when CrossFit started getting popular. That started picking up really big within the Special Forces units. They started doing a lot more CrossFit stuff, which is very applicable to what they're trying to do like overseas and the missions, and because you're doing urban warfare, so you're not really, hiking clicks and clicks and clicks. It's a lot of raids and in and out of houses and stuff like that. So you have to move fast, you have to be strong and combative. So it was a lot of that type of stuff it started shifting towards, which was really cool to see the evolution of like focusing away from aerobic calisthenics, marathons, triathlons, to focusing on how can we incorporate strength training into all that to be better soldiers. And they're definitely doing that more and more with a lot of the PFT stuff that they have going on too. But I did most of my studying at Florida Atlantic University, and that's where I started getting inundated with like powerlifting. One of the professors there, Dr. Patrick Jacobs, was a former powerlifter, and then he was a strength and conditioning coach, and he kind of like pushed me into that realm of things. And he was a great mentor and someone that I really like looked up to when it came to those professors that like can make an impact on your life and make you really look into things. He was one of those guys for me. And then just traveling and training and doing all that stuff and trying to get through school. And then finally I was like, I'm getting to the end of powerlifting, and I wanted to go back to school and try to get my PhD eventually. So the idea was to do a master's program in exercise science with a school that allows you to focus on the things that I like to research. So they do a lot of strength training, they do a lot of body composition, physique enhancement at USF, and that's where I'm at now, the University of South Florida, with Professor Bill Campbell. I'm looking at what I do a lot of research on in my free time is the central nervous system and how the brain interacts, and what dictates fatigue, how does people recover from fatigue, and how that all correlates to willpower and your brain and mental performance. So I've been doing a lot of reading of like Timothy Noakes and him talking about the brain as a central governor of fatigue and fatigue mechanisms, and how you can't really do VO2 maxes and tests like that without encompassing the brain and those dynamics. So doing a lot of research on that and working on trying to, this next semester for school, I'm doing an independent study and working on trying to make a book about that, right? The will to win and what separates people who quit and what separates them from the people who push on and keep driving, and trying to look at the neuroscience, the biochemistry, and all those things, and how it correlates to training and how you can train some of those things in a person. So as a coach and who's been doing this for a long time, I get DMs all the time of like, how do I start? Where do I get into coaching? I can't afford to go to college. College is too expensive, or like, college is not my thing. What's the best way to become a coach? Right? And I always tell people, well, you have to have experience, but you also have to have the research and the science behind it as well. So that's kind of the impetus of starting the Coach's Corner, was giving people the availability to find the research, find what all the science says in like easy, digestible 30-minute lectures that myself and Paul put out there at like a fraction of the price of college. So the people that can't afford college, that don't see college as being their thing, but they want to become better coaches, better athletes, then Coach's Corner is going to be able to provide them that educational platform to do it with two coaches that have been competing and coaching for over a decade at high levels. So it gives them the anecdotal side of thing, but then it allows them to see all the research without having to go sift through the internet and try to find, what the research says or who's putting it out there, right? It gives them a solid base to find all those things. And like I said, it's only $34.99, where most colleges now are $30,000, $40,000 a year, right? So it allows them to bridge that gap of the research plus the anecdotal experience of people who have been coaching and lifting their entire lives. It covers everything from foundations of training principles, biomechanics, human movement, nutrition, how to build a business from scratch, how to make social media posts, how to continue to grow, how to look at the research, how to read the research. So it gives everyone the tools to do their own thing without having to overly rely on a business like walking them through it the entire way, right? They're allowed to think on their own. They're allowed to conceptualize their ideas with everything that we do. Within the website, we have a community page, much like Facebook, where people can go in and share what topics they want to share, and all the coaches who are on there. We have over 100 members now who are going on there answering those questions. So you get inundated with a great community of people. And then we also have webinars that we do weekly, where people can come in and ask questions, and we usually have anywhere from 8 to 10 people showing up, and they can get answers from myself and Paul, but they can also get answers from all these other coaches that are part of the community as well. So it's definitely an interactive community that we're trying to build to help coaches become better coaches in all dynamics of strength and conditioning.